Hello YouTube, I'm Jack Clark, Vegan Musketeer, coming to you with another video. Hello, how are you? So of course I took a kind of a little mini break from YouTubing, I'm very sorry for that. But of course today I'm coming to you with a deck profile of the Atlantean archetype that will be coming out in structure deck, was it called H?
War of the Sea Emperor.
Ah, yes, and of course, like this random disembodied voice just said, my brother will also be joining us for this video. He will be giving us some tips and combos that we can do with this, considering he's been testing the new water stuff on the Abyss Rising and the structure deck religiously, and he knows a thing or two. So say hello.
Hello.
So of course, I'm going to go through the deck list, and then we're going to go back and forth, and we're going to give you some of the reasons why we're using certain cards, combos, and the Atlanteans, and this is a good start-off build for them, so buy 3 of them as soon as the deck comes out, and yay! So first off, we've got 3 copies of Abyss Soldier, 2 copies of Armsman, 2 copies of Marksman, 2 copies of Pointman, and 3 copies of Seahorseman, or also known as Dragon Rider on the Wikia. Then, we've got 3 copies of Deep Sea Diva, 3 copies of Effect Veiler, and a Gauze. For the spells, we have 2 copies of Atlantean Rule, 1 Book of Moon, 1 Dark Hole, 1 Heavy Storm, 1 Mind Control, 1 Monster Reborn, and 3 copies of MST. And we've also got 2 copies of Duality and a Salvage. For the traps, we have 2 Bottomless Trap Hole, 1 Mirror Force, the Solemn Brigade, and 2 Torrential Tributes. Oh, I said it perfectly this time. I've done so many takes of this video, and of course, my brother was getting quite annoyed by the fact that I could never say the Atlanteans properly. But yes, as for the extra deck, of course, a lot of the cards are kind of your own personal choices, but the important cards that I think you should probably have for the Atlanteans would be Brionarch, Gungnir. Evigishki Mergeist is a personal preference of mine, but of course you'll definitely be using number 17 Leviathan Dragon in this deck, always. Very important. Gachi Gentetsu is also a very useful Xyz to have, but of course all of these you don't need to have, but of course Leviathan Dragon is a very easy card to get, and so you don't really have an excuse. But let's go through some of the cards. Now, of course, we've got 3 copies of Abyss Soldier. Now, Abyss Soldier is freaking ridiculous in this deck. Of course, for those of you unaware, it's 1800 attack level 4 monster. Of course, once per turn, you can discard a water monster to bounce a card on the field to the owner's hand. So, for those of you unaware, the Atlanteans gain effects when they're used for the effect of a water monster. So, if they're used for the cost of a water monster, I mean, they get certain effects. So, Harry, what does the Atlantean Armsman do when he's used for a cost?
You target a face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it.
The Marksman?
You get to target a set card they control and destroy that.
The Seahorse?
Add any Sea Serpent from your deck to your hand.
With no level restrictions. Thank you very much, Harry. Now, of course, we've got the Pointsman that doesn't have an effect when he's used for a cost, but they're all very good. Of course, Abyss Soldier, when coupled with the Sea Horseman, or Dragon Rider, as it's also known as, you basically get a pseudo Stratos. Of course, priority is no longer a thing, which does suck, but it's still very good. So you summon your Abyss Soldier, your opponent's got, I don't know, they first turned Zen mains on you or something annoying like that. You Abyss Soldier, they shit their pants, you discard a Sea Horseman, and you bounce their Zen Mage to their hand, and then of course Sea Horseman allows you to search for any Sea Serpent in your deck, not just an Atlantean. So the key card that you will be searching for with Seahorse will be Deep Sea Diva. Now Deep Sea Diva, oh my god, it's
Tried, tested and trusted over the past how many years?
Oh, it's so good. Deep Sea Diva, of course, really does come into its own simply because you are allowed to search for it with Seahorse, and it allows you to search for your other Atlanteans. Of course, Armsman is level 2, Marksman is level 3, and Pointsman is also level 3, which allows you to search for them all with Diva directly from the deck. So it's their own tour guide, which is, I'm sorry, I'm geeking over how awesome it is in this deck. Of course, when you summon Diva, what would you normally go for, Harry? Depending on the situation, what would you go for?
I usually go for Marksman. Or Pointsman, depending on the situation.
True. Marksman, of course, Marksman is a very good one, because they all get effects when they're used for a cost, but they also have additional effects. So, for example, Armsman, when it's on the field, you can get an additional normal summon of a Sea Serpent, but Marksman's very good in the fact that when he inflicts battle damage, you can special summon an Atlantean directly from your deck, which is level 4 or below. And that is ridiculous. Of course, it's only 1400 attack points, which means it's not really going to get over a lot of stuff on its own. But of course, something like Seahorse, for example, his effect is that level 3 or below. Is it level 3 or below Sea Serpents?
level 3 or below sea serpents can attack your opponent directly.
So, of course, that coupled with of course, the marksman allows it to attack directly, do 1400 damage, and then search for another card. Now, most of the time when I search for a card with marksman, of course, you can't search for another marksman, so I'll go for pointsman. Now, pointsman is a very good one, is that if you control another aqua, sea serpent, or fish, is it?
Yes, he'll gain 800 attack, which
is ridiculous. How much attack is that as its original attack?
1400.
1400, so it becomes 2200 immediately.
Level 3.
Level 3. And of course, coupled along with Sea Horseman, you get to attack directly. But it's very nice just for beating, just beating shit down.
Face. It combos with so many of the deck's cards.
It's ridiculous.
Armsman, Marksman, Diva.
It's so good. I mean, you get to summon it so easily as well. And of course, having another monster on the field is no problem in this deck. Now, of course, you're probably looking for this deck and going, oh, why aren't you using the Poseidra, the Atlantean dragon? And
it's just not too costly.
It's probably one of the only boss monsters in a while now, actually, that hasn't really lived up to what it should be. Of course, Poseidra being the coolest thing coming out of this deck, but not the best at all. Of course, its free tributing effect, where you have to tribute 3 monsters to special summon it from the hand or graveyard, is okay, but of course you have to tribute 3 monsters. And if you do tribute Atlanteans, yeah, sure, you get additional effects, but you just lost 3 monsters on the field for just the price of 1, which its effect when it's special summoned to giant true nature spells and traps and then decrease your opponent's monsters' attack points. It's just not worth it. And it's lackluster.
It's situational.
It's very situational, no less. Of course, your opponent you want to be using the dragon when your opponent has a lot of back row. But to be fair, I don't want to be summoning such a huge monster if my opponent has loads of back row. Yeah, of course, you've got your Marksman. Marksman itself is probably going to be one of the cards which is going to make your opponent want to...
whinge.
They're going to want to use their back row a lot on Marksman, and especially Abyss Soldier. But this is a very good basic deck. Let's go with some of the spell cards and the trap cards now. Of course, the only real out-of-the-place spell card-wise is Atlantean Roar. Now, Harry, what does Atlantean Roar do?
Special summon 3 level 3 or lower sea serpents from your graveyard. Special summon them all from your graveyard, and you can't special summon any more this turn.
Yeah, they get a random rekindling-esque card.
You'll be doing that a lot during your opponent's end phase.
Yeah, of course, you'll be using it just like how you would use it, like Scapegoat during your opponent's end phase, and then tribute it for a plasma. You'll be doing this a lot during your end phase of your opponent's turn, simply because then, of course, you can special summon. And it is a quick play spell. Now, of course, the bad point about it is that, of course, you can't special summon any additional monsters. But that is not... It doesn't really matter. I mean, of course, a lot of the time, I find myself winning before I even need to use it. But this allows me to randomly quick play spell, summon 3 monsters from my graveyard. If my opponent wants to randomly start attacking me, then bosh, 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 I have all these monsters. And, of course... with this, it allows me to set up pointsman for my next turn. It's it's just ridiculous. If you get enough Atlanteans in your graveyard, then you can summon, you can use Atlantean Roar, and you're fine. Not only that, it doesn't just summon Atlanteans, mind you, it's all Sea Serpents. So if you've got a Diva in the graveyard next turn, you can go for a Synchro Play. And that's ridiculous. The fact that Diva is a tuner as well, is just kind of silly, because this has so many options you can go with the extra deck. So, of course, the rest of the spell and trap card lineup is actually pretty standard, and of course is open to your own interpretation. So this is kind of a kick-off point for you. Of course, I'm using a copy of Salvage, but a lot of the time you want to be keeping your Atlanteans in the graveyard, simply because you can then use them with Atlantean Roar. But of course, Salvage is very, very good, simply because you can reuse Divas, and just reuse Divas. It's ridiculous. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the main deck. But let's go to the extra deck and we can see what is so interesting about here. Because, of course, the Atlanteans, like we said, they get interesting effects when used for the effect of a water monster. So let's go through some of the water monsters in our extra deck and see what we can do with them. So first off, let's go with Brianarch. Brianarch's freaking amazing as it stands. But in this deck, it just becomes kind of silly, I think. It's just kind of, hey, you know I'm going to bounce all your cards to your hand. Yeah.
And get a load more effects.
And now I'm going to get a load of effects. Broke. So, of course, like I said, of course, you discard a card to bounce a card on the field to the owner's hand. Of course, discard any of the Atlanteans and you get to activate their groovy effects. And of course, use Seahorse, you get extra advantage. Use the Armsman or the Marksman, you get to destroy shit, and it's really, really useful. And it's a very good combo card as well, because of course it will it's just really nice. I love that. It's brilliant. And of course you've got something like Gungnir, which of course
Same again.
If you got them in your hand, you can discard them from your hand. And is it up to twice? Is it twice?
Up to twice.
You can discard 2, so you get 2 additional ones, and of course it allows you to destroy stuff, which is awesome. I'm using the Sea Dragon
Gishilnodon.
See, Harry can say it. Gishilnodon, simply because, of course, Diva plus level 3, and it's an interesting card. Of course, I don't particularly...
It's quite good because it's got the water support.
It's got the water support, which is quite nice, and it's a level 5 option that you have, but it's okay, you don't need to use it. But let's go with the Exeses now. Marigeist. Evigeshki Marigeist is our rank 4 water monster. Now, we don't have many water Exeses, but the ones that we do, we're going to be using simply because, well, they're there. And of course, when you detach an Exes material from one of them, it activates because it's a cost. So the fact that it's not a monster anymore doesn't really matter. So of course, Evigeshki Marigeist, you use its effect, and then you get to detach a Sea Horseman, for example, and then you get to search for a Sea Serpent. And then of course you get to use the Marigeist effect, which is very, very nice. Next off, we've got Gachi Gachi Kintetsu. Now, of course, Gachi Gachi is not a water monster.
Staple in most decks using Diva.
But of course, we're using Diva, like Harry said, and it's very, very good. Summon Diva, summon another Diva, overlay for Gachi, and sit on it until your opponent can destroy it, because it's very nice just to stall with, and of course, does increase the attack points of the monsters that you also have, so...
Which is helpful.
Which is also very helpful. So next off, we have number 17, Leviathan Dragon. Now,
great card in the deck.
It is amazing. I mean, there's so many times that this is probably one of the only few decks where you will summon and you will be able to go for a rank 3 and you won't want to go for Zen mains or something, or you won't want to go for something else. You'll want to go for your freaking Leviathan Dragon, because you can then detach your Marksman and then you just get to use its effect. It's so... it's so good. You detach and then you get to destroy stuff, and of course you get a 2500 beta, which is really, really good, and it's still really quite underrated. But yeah, so good. And of course, the only options from your extra deck that you'll be using too much will be your Leviathan Dragon and the odd Catasta that you can make with Vela. So if you're not able to get a lot of these cards, then I would still recommend you try and get a Catasta and a number 17 Leviathan Dragon. So good. But yeah, Harry, are there any combos that you would recommend?
Oh yeah, there's that combo where you can use Deep Sea Diva with Armsman, because if there's a specific type of monster you want to summon with Diva, and you've drawn all your copies of it, you can summon Diva anyway, summon Armsman instead, and use his effect to get an additional normal summon your turn, and where that happens, you summon that monster. So
it's very good. Of course, like we said, the Atlanteans have additional effects, so of course, the Armsman allows you another normal summon of a Sea Serpent monster so far. So, like Harry said, very good. So if you like, oh no, I've got all my Sea Horsemen in my hand, for God's sake, you can just do that. It's very, very good, and of course, Diva gives you so much utility in this deck, and it's really nice. I'm not quite sure competitive-wise whether or not it was going to compete in tournaments. I mean, of course, this is a structure deck, so we should always keep our minds open, simply because when the Chaos Drag...
Structure decks have proven to be recently overwhelming.
Of course, this deck doesn't look too overwhelming.
Just
of course,
whelming.
It's just whelming, especially considering that Poseidon the Atlantean Dragon isn't very good. But, of course, they do have their own Rekindling-esque card, and they do have some broken combos with Abyss Soldier and Leviathan Dragon. But, of course, that's just our opinion. We love the Atlanteans, don't we?
Yep.
And, of course, we're going to be coming to you with more deck profiles, with more of the stuff coming from Abyss Rising. So, of course, in the future, we'll probably be coming to you with a Mermail deck profile next, I think, yeah?
Yeah, they go hand in hand with these guys.
Yes, and we're going to give you some more tips on those and how you can mix the archetypes together. But, of course, until then, in the comments down below as a video response, please tell me what you think about this deck, and, of course, any questions you have about it, post those in the comments, and me and Harry will be looking through the comments, and we'll be able to ask any questions you have. And, yeah... Oh, and I just got to say that I'm really, really quite pleased with the Lost Empire title, yeah? Atlantis Lost Empire, yeah? Disney movie.
It's his favourite movie.
I love that movie! But of course, like I said, I'm Jack Clark, the Eager Musketeer. That is Harry Clark, the Panda Man. And we will see you soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.